Chibi Reviews is a 31-year-old anime YouTuber. He's also a self-admitted lolicon and enjoyer of cartoon. Don't worry, this isn't a big secret or anything. Taking one look at his Twitter page reveals that he has happily let the world know these facts about himself around 30,000 times. If you're not a terminally online Twitter user, you may recognize him as the guy whose wife cheated on him with his best friend, to which, after this information came to light, the rest of his friend group cut him off.
I discover my fiance cheating on me with my best friend of 10 years.
At first, when I heard about Chibi, I thought this was essentially it when it came to his lore. Anyone giving the situation a cursory glance would probably assume the same. However, I couldn't have been more wrong. Digging into the backstory of Chibi not only reveals a deeper, sick look into his brain, it also reveals a history of lawsuits, borderline scam fundraisers, the FBI, and most recently, his brother being turned into a chair. You know I'm about to get a lot of flack for this, but here it is. Lolly does not mean you're a PDF file. My stance will never change on this, because watering down words only helps actual criminals, aka PDFs. If you find it weird, so be it. People have a lot of mixed stances on this, and that's fair. However, let's not help people that do actual crimes get away with hurting others. Anyways, that's my stance. Hate me if you want. We need more problematic lolly and anime. Fictional is hot. Lollies are a body type. Drawings aren't real. If you think fiction is real, you're a schizo. These are just some, but not even close to all of the tweets directly from Chibi's Twitter account. Chibi is an avid lolly defender, and he makes no question about it. For those of you that don't know, and lucky you, lolly is a genre of manga, anime, or artwork that depicts young or young-looking characters in a sexualized manner. The characters are often portrayed as prepubescent or very young girls, sometimes in explicit contexts. The term originates from Japan, where the genre has a controversial presence, but it has also spread to other parts of the world through various forms of media. Despite what Chibi says, it is illegal in other countries like Canada and a legally grey area in the United States. Despite not being explicitly illegal in the US, it is a very, very contentious topic that gets people very fired up. Chibi doesn't just make tweets about lolicon though, he also participates in it himself. After building up a reputation and cultivating an audience of viewers that have a similar view of lolicon as him, he either commissioned or a fan went out of their way to draw a lolly version of his avatar. Woke up to a finished version of Bratty Chibi. Afterwards, he encouraged other artists to make not safe for work versions of this artwork, and someone actually did make a sexual version of his lolly avatar after a few days. Lolly isn't the only thing Chibi is vocal about loving, however. If there was a second place in the category of things Chibi loves talking about gooning to, it would have to be Chibi's interest in has really become a part of his online persona this year, but it's not exactly new. He's been hinting at it for a long time. Back in a 2017 video, someone asked him about his preferences, listing things like demons and NTR. This was his response.
Oh yes. Demons, NTR, what are your preferences? Okay, so I've said already there's many things I don't want to confirm anymore, but I will give you this. One, maybe two of those things you just mentioned I might be in.
By the way, NTR means a genre of where someone cheats on someone else. So basically, cuck. In hindsight, that is a pretty funny question. However, Chibi has said before that he's on the fence about NTR. So by process of elimination, it's pretty obvious was one of the things he was talking about. Even so, aside from that clip and a few random tweets, he didn't bring it up much for years. That changed on March 6th, 2025, when he suddenly decided to tweet about it more openly. In anime is based, and tired of people pretending it's not. The timing isn't random, it lines up with the kind of persona he's been building. Part of his whole act around that time, and even now, is going after tourists. Basically, people who don't like lolly or underage characters, and trying to either push them out or bait them into arguing. At one point, someone from an account called The Worst of Twitter featured his tweet. Chibi fired back by calling based and claiming that the guy was terminally online. On March 29th, he quote-tweeted someone who had gender-bent his avatar and drew porn of it with the original version. This caught on with his audience, and people started calling it self-cessed. Fictional takes that filter people. In anime and manga is hot. Lolly. Lots of women love ugly bastard hen. Rent a Girlfriend is more successful than a lot of manga. It's also worth pointing out that when he talks about incest, he's usually referring specifically to brother and sister. That detail started to make a lot of people uncomfortable once they realized that he has a younger sister he's mentioned before, and an even younger niece he once posted a beach photo with. Recently, a jury ordered Meta and YouTube to pay millions for their role in designing and promoting addictive platforms. They knew their apps could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. The recent history verdict underscores the consequences of those decisions. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health struggles, you should hear this. Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they caused. You can use my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to take a short quiz to see if you qualify for the case. With that being said, let's get right back into the video. At one point, someone replied to one of his usual tweets by bringing up that picture of his niece and calling him creepy. That led to some back and forth, but it didn't really slow him down. At this point, the pattern is obvious. He posts something about lollies, or something, waits for people to get mad, and then feeds off the replies. He kept running this strategy for months, until eventually one of those angry responses went further than usual. In October of 2025, it was a normal day like usual for Chibi. He woke up, got on his phone, and proceeded to post his usual type of tweet about Laguna stuff. However, this time was different. This time, for whatever reason, maybe it was the algorithm or maybe it was just a line too far, one of his tweets exploded in notoriety. The specific tweet was a picture from an anime that Chibi captioned, "The animators didn't need to go so hard for this scene." The actual scene itself was depicting a high school girl getting by robots, so people really did not like the caption that Chibi had added. What followed was the usual responses and replies he would get from people furious at him. Except this time it was different. This time someone decided to quote tweet him with his docs, along with info that his half-brother had committed. It's important to keep in mind something when it comes to this first dox attempt. Generally speaking, when someone online gets doxed, the information out there is usually pretty hard to find, and requires some extreme online finesse in order to get it. Most people, especially online creators, usually have a social media account reserved for their online persona, and a private account reserved for their personal life. This was not the case with Chibi. Not only did he put his personal address in literally every single YouTube video he made, he also included his personal Facebook and Google+, where he was publicly friends with family members and extended relatives. Obviously, posting someone's address with the intent to scare them is never okay, but what did Chibi honestly expect to happen? Especially when he's taking such a controversial stance on an extremely explicit topic, and someone officially doxed my real information. They also mocked my dead brother that committed. You know who you are, and I'm going to speak to my lawyer now. Along with this tweet, Chibi made a video talking about what happened, and most notably showing off his gun he bought in order to try intimidating or flexing on his haters.
So thankfully, I live in Tennessee. I don't live in California or anything. I'm able to legally own a gun. I've owned this for a while, and I'm going to tell you right now, if anyone wants to pull any stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. That's all I'm going to say.
Once again, however, it's a tad bit confusing what exactly he expected to happen when he posts his address in the description of his videos, while talking about how he loves Lolicon. It's like naming yourself Baby Crusher 9000 and making videos or tweets talking about how we need to crush babies in a Hitman 2 grape press, all while putting your personal address in the description. Either way, Chibi would make another video talking about the situation and his plans to, quote, take legal action against the haters. A few days later, he tweeted out that people that send you pipe bombs in the mail aren't the good guys, and those that defend those actions aren't good as well, or those that use murder gifts to get around TOS. Anyways, I'll stop rambling and back to anime/manga. This procured some skeptical replies from people wondering if he had actually received a pipe bomb, or if he was playing up a threat to garner sympathy. Fun fact about pipe bombs: you aren't supposed to know if you received one, because most, if not all, are already on a timer or have a trigger caused by opening the package, which the bomb is contained inside. After getting enough replies calling him out, Chibi made a follow-up tweet amending what he said, stating that instead of actually receiving a bomb, he was, quote, threatened to receive one, which is a pretty big difference. He then tweeted that he had, quote, made a police report and gave a screenshot showing that he had indeed done this. Interestingly, in this police report, there is no mention of any pipe bomb threat. There is someone saying that they are going to, quote, shove my aborted fetus up your ass. I've gone over this in detail in other videos, and honestly, the topic itself has been beaten into the ground through countless lolcows. But to say the obvious anyway, internet hate is inevitable when you put yourself out there as a content creator. It doesn't matter how wholesome chungus you are, everyone ends up with critics and detractors. Sometimes for valid reasons, sometimes for none at all. What experienced creators understand is pretty simple. At a certain point, you have to ignore it. The moment you start feeding the hate, you give it life. You keep the conversation going, you keep yourself in the spotlight for the wrong reasons, and it just snowballs from there. What really defines a lolcow is the inability to learn, adapt, or grow past mistakes, combined with this compulsive need to respond to every bit of criticism. This has been explained over and over again, so you would think anyone trying to make content would have figured it out by now. But clearly, that's just not the case. If you want to take things to an even worse level when dealing with backlash, one of the dumbest moves you can make is trying to sue your haters. This is something people have attempted before, both creators and lolcows, and it never works because the whole idea is fundamentally ridiculous. You've got cases like Patrick S. Tomlinson, who actually went to court waving around screenshots of mean tweets. It might grab some quick attention from people who don't know the full story, but it always fades out and goes nowhere. And yet, that's exactly what Chibi decided to do. On February 12, 2025, Chibi announced a Give Send Go campaign to raise money to sue his haters. It's now been almost a week since everything went down. I'll be pushing my lawsuit forwards. With all the new information I've acquired, I've opened a Give Send Go account for anyone that wants to help out. To keep it transparent, for all of you that support me, I honestly feel ashamed to ask for money because, well, it's a pride situation. However, the circumstances over these last few months have made it very clear I need to do something about these vile people, or they will continue thinking they'll get away with it. He even had backing from another creator who focuses on legal commentary, legal mindset. The goal was $25,000, all to fund lawsuits against people talking trash online. He put out a video showing screenshots from Twitter as proof. The problem is, when you actually look at them, they're just mean comments, jokes, insults, people saying that they don't like him. There's nothing that you can realistically take to court. Even the situation where someone posted his address doesn't really hold up. What exactly is he suing for when that information was already publicly available in his own channel descriptions? It wasn't hacked or leaked, he put it out there himself.
And even if all these individuals, don't really know what they're doing, it showcases the overwhelming amount of people that genuinely believe that I'm basically the spawn of Hitler, or Hitler himself, or a pedophile. That is legitimately what you see here with a lot of these screenshots. Actively happy that my platform, or I, was deplatformed because of the online harassment that will just not leave me alone.
The campaign launched, one of the people he reported to the FBI posted that agents had actually shown up and questioned him, even sharing a photo of their card. At a first glance, that sounds serious, like maybe there was really something to worry about. But in reality, nothing came of it. The FBI asked a few questions and left. No arrests, no charges, nothing. Meanwhile, Chibi was celebrating on Twitter, and the same guy he reported was openly mocking him in response. The Give Send Go situation followed a similar pattern, only this time it got a lot more questionable. As the months went on, Chibi stopped giving updates about the supposed lawsuit, and people started to get suspicious. After nearly a year went by, in January 2026, the campaign page was quietly taken down. By that point, it had raised $16,000, and he kept all of it. Could he have refunded the money? Yes, GSG has a policy that lets you refund backers and close your campaign. Did he? Not even close. Back in September of 2025, he posted a massive wall of text full of excuses about why the lawsuit was taking so long. Here are some of the highlights. I started to receive harassment from Boruto and Dandadan fans over posting a manga panel and anime clip unaltered. One of my sponsors emails me that my situation has gotten too out of hand and refuses to work with me anymore, causing me not just emotional damage from days prior, but financial damages. I have an offer to continue the lawsuit with the remaining 12k. But to be completely blunt, I will 100% have to spend money out of my own pocket to continue, because of the monthly lawyer costing way over $2,000. Cause with the retainer fee being 5k, that'll make the rest of the money from the donations to around 7k left. With the monthly costs, it'll run out in about 4 months, give or take. I feel like it's definitely an option that will eventually make me find justice, but it will bleed me dry over time. Eventually, the situation spread beyond his immediate audience, and more people started paying attention. The general reaction was pretty clear. People accused him of scamming his own fans out of $16,000 and walking away with it. And that's the key point here. This wasn't some clueless guy getting bullied by trolls. He knew exactly what he was doing. He took the money, did nothing with it, and kept it, even though he had every opportunity to return it. That level of greed is hard to ignore, and it definitely cost him a lot of support. You might think that this would be the lowest point of his career. It wasn't. Things were about to get even worse. On February 12, 2026, Chibi vague posted, "I wanna die," deleted the post with my hospital armband to clarify I am fine, and was discharged this morning from the hospital. I had a mental break and I did almost die last night, but I was saved at the last moment. Honestly, don't want to elaborate too much further on it, if I can help it. Just lost my fiance, my best friend, and my entire friend group in 24 hours, and I have never been more alone than right now. This is just a small detail, but while he was posting all this heavy, serious stuff, he changed his banner to a picture of an anime girl with hyper-detailed feet pressed up against the camera. It was a bizarre choice, especially given everything he was talking about. After hours of vague posting, people started asking the obvious question: how do you lose everything in 24 hours? He eventually answered that with a video titled, "I lost everything." The short version is this: he found out his wife had been cheating on him with his best friend of 10 years, and it had apparently been going on for years. Even then, she was the one who ended the relationship. At one point, he drank himself into a near-fatal state by a pond in the middle of nowhere. Someone called in a wellness check and he ended up hospitalized. He also cut off his entire friend group because they didn't seem to care about what had happened with his friend. From his perspective, they just shrugged it off, so he cut them off completely.
I discover my fiance cheating on me with my best friend of 10 years. And then I drove into the middle of nowhere, near water, and I drank, just sitting there drinking.
A lot of people did laugh at him, but there was also a wave of support, mostly from people who didn't really know who he was. If you look at the situation on its own, it is genuinely messed up. A few days later, he posted a follow-up video laying out what he planned to do next. He said he had started therapy, got a gym membership, and was going to keep uploading daily like nothing happened. He mentioned losing a sponsorship, claiming it was because of a fake screenshot of him saying the N-word, though it is just as likely it had something to do with his reputation and the kind of content he was known for. He also said he would stop oversharing his personal life online, which is hard to take seriously given everything leading up to that point. He framed it like this would be the last time he talked about the situation, which, given his track record, people weren't exactly convinced by. What's wild is that despite losing his fiancée and his entire friend group, his standing on the internet actually improved for a moment. People were sympathetic, his follower count went up, and for a brief period, it looked like he might actually turn things around. That didn't last long. By April, just as things seemed to be stabilizing, everything started falling apart again. Coming off that tiny bit of goodwill he had left, Chibi somehow managed to burn through it almost immediately. Instead of laying low, he went right back to Twitter and started defending again. This time, it kicked off because of Schlep. Schlep is someone that had built his reputation going from catching predators on Roblox to doing real-life Sting content. So when he spoke on something like this, people actually listened. He came out backing Gideon and said it plainly. He called Lolicon pedophilia and said that if you're getting off to images of animated you're a predator. He also took a shot at the platform for letting that kind of community exist in the first place. Chibi saw that tweet and jumped in right away. He pushed back, saying that depictions like that don't count as pedophilia. Then he doubled down and posted again, saying that he was so angry he was going to make a full video about it. Schlep replied, "No wonder your fiance cheated on you." It blew up instantly and completely ratioed Chibi. Whatever sympathy Chibi had built up from that whole situation was gone on the spot, and the video he made only made things worse. I'm not going to go into the semantics, but it's essentially the same argument that he's been saying ad nauseum, that it's just a drawing of a sexualized child, and that it's not real, and that this is taking attention away from real victims.
At the bottom here, this is a legitimate post he made that he edited out anime. He changed nothing else with it besides removing anime from the actual wording to basically make the post look way worse than it actually is.
People, per usual, were still extremely weirded out that he was attracted to a drawing of an underage character, even if it was just a drawing. Grown-ass man attracted to a drawing of a children. Chibi then retweeted a fake Google document accusing Schlep of being connected to someone soliciting illegal material involving minors. Schlep quote-tweeting it and called it out as completely false. The wild part is the community note that got slapped onto that post. It pointed out that the person who originally made the document had their own allegations of that exact kind of behavior. What is this, Schlep? Picky is a PDF file. Right after that, Chibi tried to flip the narrative and started flexing his engagement, talking about how the hate was paying his bills and showing off his numbers from the past couple of months. It didn't land well. You can't play the victim and then turn around and brag about profiting off the same situation without people calling it out. Meanwhile, Schlep came back with something a lot more serious. He said people were sharing explicit drawings of him as a child, using it as some kind of defense of Chibi, knowing that he's a grooming survivor. After that, Schlep slowly stepped away from the whole thing. But Chibi didn't. He kept going for weeks, posting over and over defending Lolicon, keeping the argument alive long after everyone else was over it. Then, on April 19th, he posted another image defending Lolicon. And this was the breaking point for someone. That same day, a user named Taxed Brass quote-tweeted Chibi's post defending Lolicon with a line that immediately set everything off. He wrote, "It's just a drawing. Compelling argument. I'm digging up your brother and turning him into a chair," and attached an AI-generated image of a guy standing over a grave with a shovel. A lot of people didn't realize this at first, but this joke was actually a callback. It came from a video Big Bungie had made about Chibi a few weeks earlier, where he said something similar.
Free speech, anti-censorship advocate. Now, in my experience, every person who prides themselves on free speech activism exclusively does that because they're a pedophile. Remember Amos Yee? He was a big free speech guy.
Still, the context didn't really matter once it started spreading. Saying the tweet blew up would be an understatement. It went fully viral and started trending across Twitter for hours, pulling in well over 100,000 likes. Memes spun out of it almost immediately. People were making videos, edits, variations of the joke, all racking up tens of thousands of likes on their own. For a while, it felt like it broke out of the usual circles and went semi-mainstream, at least on Twitter. Everywhere you looked, someone was talking about the guy who said he was going to turn Chibi's brother into a chair. Chibi saw it and responded by saying, "If you see that post, please report it. The police in the area are investigating and on watch right now. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then leave it at that." That only made things worse. People immediately pointed out the irony. The original poster even leaned into it, saying that since the image was obviously fake, it seemed like lolicons suddenly couldn't tell the difference between fiction and reality. Turning people into bone chairs is just an innocent kink. There shouldn't be any laws against bone chairs. Bone chairs are good, actually. AI bone chairing somebody is a victimless crime. Bone chairs are art. Just because I copied a bone chair from real life doesn't make it illegal. My new bone chair Oshi on Twitch showed fibula on the first day. Man, I wish I was invited to Bone Chair Island. Haha, not really. Wink wink. Isn't that right, my fellow bone chair enjoyers? I can't wait to go to a country where bone chairs are legal. Not that I would actually make a bone chair, haha, but I do love bone chairs. That line spread almost as fast as the original tweet, but Chibi kept going. 1.2 million people have seen the post of my brother's grave, and people cheering for the person to dig it up. I reported it hours ago and it's still up. Pay close attention to those retweeting my docs and happy about it. These ghouls want to run me off and threaten me by dragging my deceased family into it. They want you all dead and your family too over drawings. Let this be a mask-off moment for many to see. They will commit a felony over someone being anti-censorship for fictional content.
These people want me to die. That's what they want. They want to drive me to the point of insanity to be done. That's what they want.
Even Big Bungie, the guy who originally made the joke that inspired the tweet, ended up chiming in as it kept spiraling, claims he's been doxxed, and then immediately makes a 5-minute video confirming and publicizing the information while lying about the details so he can grift sympathy from his soft skull audience. At a certain point, he just does it to himself. Everything really came to a head on April 24th, when Chibi posted that law enforcement was now involved and claimed that evil Kiwi Farms people were trying to pay $200 to have him shot. Since rumors are spreading why the law enforcement is involved, the short summary is that Kiwi Farms was trying to pay a teen $200 to come to my house to get shot or me get shot. They were actively encouraging an assassination attempt against my life. If you're just scrolling past that with no context, it sounds serious. You see, with something like that, you assume there must be real evidence behind it. You don't expect someone to attach screenshots that completely contradict what they're claiming, but that's exactly what happened. He posted 3 images, and when you actually look at them, the story starts falling apart almost immediately. The first screenshot shows someone on Kiwi Farms talking about a post from a completely different site, the Soyjack Party, with a comment about how they live 40 minutes away and it would be funny to go to his house. The caption on it tries to frame it like an active threat coming from Kiwi Farms, but it's not. It's someone reacting to something posted elsewhere. The second image is more of the same. People discussing what someone else said. No direct threats, no plans, nothing that actually lines up with the way Chibi presented it. In another tweet, he claims people are trying to fund an assassination attempt against him. Kiwi Farms owner Josh has people right now on his platform trying to fund an assassination attempt on me. Less than 20 minutes ago, the screenshots he uses show 2 users talking about starting a fundraiser for what they call an RN squad, with someone throwing out the number $200. I'm not going to tell you what RN stands for, so I'll let you fill in the blanks. That's it, so you're left with a pretty obvious question. Are these people seriously organizing an RN squad hit for $200? Or is this just another edgy joke on a site that thrives on this kind of humor? It doesn't take much to figure out which one makes more sense. Chibi followed that up by posting a picture of himself talking to the police, saying he was in contact with law enforcement. On April 26th, he posted a photo of a letter he claimed was a threat on his life that he received in the mail. The letter itself reads like something an edgy teenager would write as a joke. You effed up bad. You effed up having CSEM on Defiant Art. You effed up trying to take down my first video on you. You effed up in playing part in suspending my account. You effed up scamming your fanbase. And you effed up making an enemy of me. Now, I'm going to make sure I strip everything away from you. The real problem is what he did next. He included the full name and address of the person who supposedly sent it. At that point, there are only a couple of possibilities. Either the letter was fake and he put a random person's information out there, or someone actually sent it but used a fake name, and Chibi ended up doxing an unrelated person by mistake. Because seriously, why would anyone include a link to their Twitter account in a threatening letter like that? As it turns out, the real name on that letter belongs to a real person, an online VTuber with no connection to any of this. So now you've got a situation where best case he acted recklessly, and worst case he dragged an uninvolved person into this for no reason. Clearly, someone sent that letter wanting him to post the address and name he put, and he fell right into it. The reaction was split. Some people took his side and treated it like a serious situation. Others saw it for what it looked like and mocked the whole thing. That's where it stands for now. and given how everything else has played out, it's hard to believe that's the end of it. Overall, it is hilariously ironic that the world's #1 lolicon defender ended up in a situation where he called real law enforcement over an AI-generated photo. The one singular thing that he's known for, the one hill that he has died on over and over again, saying countless times how it's just pixels on a screen. It's not illegal. But when confronted with pictures that he doesn't personally like, even if they are fake pixels on a screen, he immediately folds and tries to contact the authorities. Lolicon as a topic will probably be one of the most controversial on the internet, and for good reason. Many people have extremely negative experiences with it, and you can't blame them. People like Null, who previously moderated sites like 9chan, say that during their years of moderation on one of the most toxic places on the internet, it was always the Lolicon people that would eventually post CSAM onto the boards.
Someone said that I should explain why, and I'll just read a post that I said. Why would I say that Lolicon is child pornography? Why would I do that when I said this in January of this year? And the underlined part is, anyone who, and this is me who wrote this, anyone who clutches pearls are fags, and the rationalization that there is some sort of lolicon to child rape as gateway has absolutely zero evidence to back that up. I found my evidence while hosting 9chan. That is the answer. The same exact people who were posting lolicon on the lolly boards were the same people posting child pornography on B. I have zero doubt in my mind at this point that there is not a huge overlap in those two groups.
That's not to say that Chibi has CSAM on his computer for sure, and this is not an accusation of any kind. However, when you make yerking off to cartoon drawings of young and underage girls a core part of your identity, you cannot blame people for raising a few eyebrows. I mentioned before how the defining feature of a lolcow is the inability to learn or adapt from one's prior mistakes. But after thinking about it with Chibi, I just had a realization that seems obvious in hindsight. Chibi thinks his way of adapting and overcoming is by intentionally stoking the fire and provoking his haters to keep him relevant. It's the same strategy he has implemented when it comes to making bait tweets about lolicon or being annoying on purpose to drive attention and boost metrics. Short term, this is a great plan. But if you look at anyone that's used this strategy in the past, you will find that long term, this kind of thing never works. Now, this is an ongoing situation that's already had developments as I'm working on this video, so make sure you subscribe because part 2 is definitely coming out, and may or may not be worse than what you just heard in this video.